What's up, everybody? Today on this episode, let me redo that. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Anime Association. And once again, I am your host, Kaio-Tim, times 10. You already know how we do. And today we have a very controversial topic in a sense of anime. And it's about CGI. But before I give too much away, I have a very special guest, but I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? I'm Silva, Silva no Yume, Silver Circle. I couldn't get the name across all platforms. You know how that can be at times, but I've been following Kaio-Tim since he was Craftman and he was killing it. So it's fun to finally get up here and talk with him about a very interesting topic because it's flying around a lot of places right now.
Yeah, same man. I've been following you, watching your stuff, and I feel like we're going to have a good conversation uh, tonight. It actually spawned from one of your shorts. You were talking about the CGI, and it's a conversation that I like to talk about a lot because it can bounce back and forth, and people kind of have like a love hate relationship with it, right? Because you can do things with it, you can do things without it, and sometimes it just doesn't pass. But we'll get into all of that. So once again, I want to welcome y'all to another roundtable discussion. Well, I guess it's more of a square table since it's just me and him. We're sitting across from each other. So let's just go on ahead and start. I just want to know before we get to it what your overall feel for CGI is.
So I guess I should preface it as my stance is that CGI, just like AI in the regular world, is fine if we're using it as a tool. But when it's like the core of what the anime is, it just falls flat for me. So I can appreciate it, because it definitely makes certain animes better. But I've seen some ways where it's kind of just used too heavily and it just makes it not believable, you know? And what about you?
Uh, I guess it's kind of the same. I enjoy it. I enjoy the CGI sometimes because it can make things look a little bit more fluid with the way it is. And I agree. Sometimes it can take you out of it, but when it's applied properly, it actually kind of gets you more immersed into it. My thing is, I feel like a lot of people get turned off by it because of the art style restrictions that you get for doing CGI. At least from what we've seen, it seems like you can't get the same type of strokes doing the CGI, right? The that you would for a hand drawn anime and something like that. Do you agree with that, or do you feel like it's there's something else that kind of turns people away?
Well, I think that it depends on the art style of the anime too, because like one of my favorite CGI animes is Doho Hetero. I always mess that name up. But it's such a weird art that the CGI meshes really well. And then a lot of new mech animes, they use CGI, but they find a way to kind of make it work in that world. But then you watch something like Failure Frame or Overlord, the last episode, the that with the goat scene where with the goats and the CGI goats were just so bad. And it's just like when he calls the like final bosses. Have you watched Overlord? I'm sorry. I hope I didn't
Yeah,
like
I've watched up to the seasons. I haven't watched the movie though, so
I
I,
haven't
I
watched the movie either. It's the
okay.
he calls out these like undead goats and they're like three, four-headed goats and they like it's so bad, dude. Like you got to look it up and you'll see what I'm saying. It kind of takes you out of the anime for a second. Um
Okay.
yeah, so I guess that's what I think. What anime did you really feel that CGI was great in?
So off rip, I think the best to do the CGI would be Dragon Ball superheroes. I think they have, at least in recent times, I feel like they are the best to actually go all in. But I also feel like the CGI meshes with the Dragon Ball art style better than some of these other things. Now, you brought up Failure Frame.
Hmm.
Failure Frame is a very good story. Well, at least from
Yes,
what I've seen, it's a
I
great
enjoyed it a
story.
lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know exactly what you're saying. So when he goes into the cave, we see for the first time we see the CGI, and that doesn't look bad or anything at that point in time. But there are certain points where, like when he's fighting the knights, or
Yes,
just like
the
slaughters the
dragoons or
knights.
whatever,
Yeah,
right?
and like he just looks superimposed on top of the background. It doesn't really blend too much into what is it doesn't really blend in. But I also, a lot of people kind of were down talking the series Origin. Have you seen that?
I yeah, actually, I was saying it's very similar to Failure Frame, where great story, but then when you're like watching the CGI, you're just like it's not making sense for me. Like the and I also understand the concept of what the outer the black things were, and I could understand why you couldn't really draw those in a 2D way, like so it makes sense why people use CGI, but I guess it's just like the application of it, and maybe as we get better with it, they'll be able to kind of mask it better. But when it's just so blatant against the 2D, it just doesn't look good, and it makes you like because you're watching this and you're kind of being a part of that world, and when you see something that just doesn't add up, like it throws you off. It's just like bad voice acting, where you're just like, oh wait, that doesn't sound right for the situation. And like you're no longer there, like you're no longer in the room with
Oh
everybody.
shoot! Hold on, right quick, my
Hmm.
man. I just heard I heard everything you said, but for some reason my camera just went out.
Oh, good.
That usually doesn't happen, and of
Hey,
course it would happen in the middle of
technology, dude. That's how it is.
CGI. We're gonna
Yeah,
blame it on the CGI. That's what we're gonna do.
they
All right.
superimposed you, man.
Yeah, right. They was like, nah, we ain't. You said you look out of place. We look out of place on the background. We gonna make you look out of place on the forefront. Like, God dang.
Exactly, man. But I just think that bad CGI, like we were just talking about, like it can take away from a really good story, like Ajin, like you were saying, like, and you can understand why they had to go that route, especially with certain types of character designs. But like, look at
Mm-hmm.
JoJo and stuff like that. Like, they never had to do it, and like, they have some of the craziest, weirdest character designs. Like, so I'm always really like torn because there's good application and bad application. It's
Yeah.
really hard.
So I agree. Like you don't necessarily need it for it to look really good because it has like JoJo, and even I mentioned superhero, but we can take it back and do Broly right now. Later on in the movie, Dragon Ball Broly had the CGI with the big explosions and the universe clash and all that stuff. But overall, it was very hand drawn. But with Ajin and shows like Ajin, Blame, and then there's another one called Yakitori. I'm not sure if you've seen that one on Netflix, but they're very cell shaded esque art style. So I think that throws people off. You know what I'm saying? Uh,
But I do think that the cell shading adds to it because when you say Doho Hetero is kind of cell shaded, it's kind of like blocky. So it adds to the fact that, well, like it already has that blockiness. So 3D art typically has a little bit more. That's why the mech animes work because it's kind of like blocky. So it's just like, well, we just need them to move smoothly, and so I can accept it in stuff like the newer Gundams and stuff like that. It's just like, for instance, I was reading recently that Demon Slayer, from like the Mugen Train on, has been adding CGI in like the backgrounds, and it's like I can't even tell. I didn't even know that. Like more of that.
Well, so that was actually going to bring me into what I had was going to bring up, and my thing is CGI works well when they have the finances behind it, right? I think a lot of people are doing it because they don't get me wrong, the animation workplace is very high stress and
Yes.
it's very it's underpaid. If we're being honest, it's underpaid. They get paid like 17 cents a panel, right? So if you're doing the CGI, it it takes a lot of that stress off to where they can just make a model and they can almost put in a code type of thing for it to move around. So but my
Hmm.
thing is if they don't have the finances, then don't do it because we have and it's really weird or even the talent if you don't have the talent because a series like Berserk looks horrendous. It looks horrendous. And if you compare it to the 80s version, early 90s version, it looks beautiful with that art style. But then they went to go do it and they made everything. They did the cell shading stuff, but it doesn't fit well with a series like that. Now with Demon Slayer, I haven't watched Demon Slayer since Mugen Train. Like I'm not a big Demon Slayer fan or like
I think
JJK
I
or any of
saw one of your podcasts where you said that. I was like, damn, bro, like not
that.
no Demon Slayer love. All right, you love Rengoku that much, bro?
Yeah, nah, that I just never got into it after Mugen Train. A little side tangent to it. When the second season came out and the first 8 episodes was Mugen Train, I was like, I'm good, and then I just never tapped back into it.
But
Uh,
I mean, like, can I be honest with you? I know you're a big Dragon Ball fan, and I'm not. I don't hate Dragon Ball. I don't get the hype, and I grew up on it. That was one of the most drawn out shows ever. And so come on, the beginning and the end of those shows would like mesh together where you could have made like 30 more episodes a
okay, look,
season, you know?
we gonna have a second conversation with this one right after
All right,
this.
my
So
bad, my bad, my bad.
I'm gonna stop it and pick it back up, and we gonna talk about that one. But with like you
But
brought up
so
Dodo
Dodo
Hidoro,
Hetero,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Matter of fact, when you brought it up, I forgot it was CG. I completely forgot that it was CG because they did it properly and it fit the art style. The magic that they use with the CGI, it it worked very well with it. A lot of times they use CGI with the magic and it just doesn't work good. Uh, but my big thing is finances. How do you feel about if you are going to do it? Make sure you have the finances for it.
Well, I mean, I was talking to my friend the other day, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna get seafood from a place that, isn't a nicer establishment. I'm not paying $10 for lobster, like, because then I know what I'm getting into. So it's the same thing with CGI. Like, if you're gonna use CGI, make sure you're using like quality CGI, or else it's gonna look bad. Like it- you pay for certain like I've heard like women do this thing where it's like high low, and it's like they wear like high end sunshades because like that's the thing that most of the people are going to see, or high end shoes, and then they wear
Hmm.
sheen dresses, and it's like nobody really cares what the dress is as long as the shoes look good, and it's just like pay more for the CGI. That's all. Just pay a little bit more to make sure it's done well, because if you're falling flat on that, then it's going to ruin the whole experience, like we were saying. So I'm 100% agreeing with you on that. Like you need to pay up if you're going to use CGI. Otherwise, then don't use it because it's going to ruin the whole feel, the whole vibe of the show.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I just got done watching Edge Runners. They kind of meshed it together really well with the CG and hand drawn. They did that.
Really good,
Yeah,
really
they
good.
did that. That was beautiful, and I think that comes down to not only finances but also talent. I don't think a lot of these people. I don't want to downplay it, because it's not something that's easy. I know it's not something that's easy, but I feel like they grab a lot of new people to do some of these projects, so it's
Hmm.
not really that well put together. But then you have series like District 9 or Transformers. Like the CG works perfect for Transformers, right? It works really good for the Transformers stuff. Why the hell is my hand cutting off? My bad.
Huts.
I just noticed that
That's kind of funny.
it
um,
must have been from when it shut
when they
down
cut
last
out.
time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do think that there's a point to be made about CGI working more effectively with like live action, just because like you can kind of make it like look more like I think our CGI for like realistic and photorealistic things are is getting so much better. Whereas like
Hmm.
CGI as far as its application to anime, like dude, like there's no like the way that these guys, these artists are drawing these characters, like I feel like the computers are not able to sometimes really get the human element. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
and you can see that in some of the rushed versions of these animes. Like I'm trying to watch as much as possible. I'm trying to add slice of life, but I mainly watch fantasy. And like you'll watch all these random shows and you can just see that these guys are rushing through the animations. Forget CGI, just rushing through it. So it's just like it's so tough to say, like why we're not caught up as far as CGI and anime compared to real world. But you're so right. Like Transformers is amazing. And like when you look at like real world CGI, it's bar none compared to what you see in anime,
Yeah,
or its
nah.
inclusion.
So I was actually referencing the cartoon versions of
Oh
it. I
God,
don't think
I
uh
haven't seen the cartoon
well
version yet.
actually I guess you could call Transformers an anime. Transformers is Japanese. I think a lot of people don't even know that. So, but I do get what you're saying. With superimposing it on CG into the real world, they get it down right for the most part. I mean, because even nah, I'm not gonna say that because I might be lying when I say it. So I'm just not gonna say it. Uh, I do agree that they can't capture the art style. I do agree with that because as soon as they take something and put it to the anime, even hand drawn, they have to simplify it. So now you're taking that and you're simplifying it even more because you have to get the dimensions right. Right? So like you take your time like Dodo Hidoro, right? And if you're
But
not
it's
doing
it's
that,
the imperfections of like the human drawing sometimes that actually add the realism. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, to an extent, but I feel like a lot of manga style. It gets slept on, but it gets very detailed, right? I'll say like a show like Naruto
Hmm.
or One Piece wouldn't look too good CGI anime, right? Like the One Piece CGI for the live action works really good because, like you said, it's the it's real life, right?
Hmm.
It just works better. It's easier to blend and stuff like that. Uh, but then, from what I've seen, I'm not really the biggest Bleach fan, but Thousand Year Blood War has a lot of CGI from the stuff I've seen in it, but it looks good.
It's
It disconnected again.
oh damn.
Now
It's
you
time
can
to
keep
give it a
talking.
go flow. Bleach was so I'm a big Bleach fan. I'm a Ichigo all the way, and the Blood War arc. I'm not caught up all the way, but I didn't even know they had CGI in it. And if they did, like they are doing a master class at it. I did read that, and I gotta check on this because I know the One Piece fans would come for me. But I did hear that they did implement some CGI in the Wano arc. And you can kind of see some of that in the fights with like Kaido and stuff like that, where there is a little bit more of a fantastical element. And I have no issue if that's how it's used because it's like hide it. Like make it so that like it's just adding, it's like an accent to something. Don't make it so that it's the main attraction, you know? And when you do like you said, it's okay when it's the Doro hetero, when it's like certain art styles it fits. And it's I guess it's hard for me because I don't read as much manga. So someone like you and other manga readers can probably speak to it better about how it's translated, you know, because I kind of go off of what I just saw from the anime. Um, so I guess it goes down to the studio too. It's like how does the studio choose which direction they're going? A lot of people are talking about the beginning after the end, and they're complaining about the animation for that. And I don't understand why, because it seems pretty good to me. It's not Mappa, you know, it's not
So, uh, I my camera's overheating right now. It's on fire, so I think that's why.
gotcha.
Yeah, you're right. When I go to post this, I'm just gonna have to.
You gotta put a picture of yourself or something, man.
Yeah, the battery itself is starting to bulge. Uh,
Okay.
so there's with T bait, the animation with that, like it's a very average type of
You
it's
feel
a
that it's
very
average?
I think it's average or a little below average. T bait is it's
But like
not.
we haven't, what have we seen yet? You
No,
know,
no,
like
you're right with that. You're right with that because it from what we've seen, that first episode was average or below average, right? But not horrible, right? But the CG that they used in there when showing like the magic going over his body, it kind of
yeah, yeah,
it
no, I
you
know.
know, but like you said, it's all within the studio too, because not every studio has, which goes back to the talent, has the talent to do it. Because like Toei, I don't expect Toei to really give me grand CGI unless they're having some crazy studio like helping them out, like with superhero, with the Wano arc and stuff like that. But for the most part, I don't expect them to have uh, these grandiose
But
type of
but
things.
but like okay, so you're an old school anime watcher like me, and we like so we came up on like all the slower pacing and like the you know the Full Metal Alchemist and like my problem with people nowadays is that they expect the first season of an anime to be the greatest thing they've ever watched. And it's like, look at my favorite anime of all time is Attack on Titan. I watch One Piece, like that's probably number two. It balances. But Attack on Titan is my number one. The first season, the animation is garbage, dude. Like it is not good. And you know, and I love Wit. Wit is one of my favorite studios. They've done great work. But the first season of Attack on Titan is terrible. But as they get more funding, it gets better. So I guess I understand that T-Bait is like the number one rated manhwa and blah blah blah, and they could have done this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, like they chose this route and they took it. But we know the story's good. So why don't we just trust that the people behind it are gonna make sure that they come through for us? You know, like I get the CGI wasn't that good. Maybe I'm simping a little bit. I really enjoyed the first episode. I don't know. I really enjoyed the first episode.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did too. Don't get me wrong, but like you were saying with Attack on Titan, uh, when they started getting more funding because it started getting the support for it, for them to feel like they need to put more funding into it. Even, it's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure that they were using CGI as well. Like all these series use CGI
So Attack
for the
started using
most part.
CGI with Mappa. They weren't using CGI with Wit. So
But
that was
Mappa picked it up in the second season, didn't they?
the third and fourth.
The third and fourth season. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh
And you
yeah,
can see the
so
quality steps up. So it does kind of cater to what you're saying. Like that the CGI made the Titans more like the I think it was Bertold and the Armor Titan were like more, the movement was more fluid and it felt more realistic as compared to when Wit did it. So there are good ways of doing it. And the Titans were something that it's hard to draw when you really think about it. Like the Colossal Titan looked weird drawn.
Yeah, so I think when you have the talent and the money for it, you can make it better because you can make it more fluid with it, right?
Hmm.
And that's what we want the CGI for. Like imagine Akira CGI, right? I think it would work good if you had the money with it for CGI. But I'm saying that only because when they drew it, it was 100. No, my bad. It was 60 frames per second in Akira. That's why it was so fluent throughout
Yeah, man.
the whole thing, and that's why it looks kind of freaky too. So it was like CGI before CGI in anime, right? But when they get it right, they get it right. When they get it wrong, they get it wrong. But then there's series in between, like the Ajins, like the Bloms, like the Yakitoris, and then failure frame is like, oh, it's good and then it's not good. Oh, it's good and then it's not good. Uh, and even Solo Leveling brought in CGI during the big Calgarin fight. They had CGI in there, and even they didn't get it right. So I don't think it it and that's and they had almost an infinite pool of money for it. So it's not necessarily just money. It's also talent and placement, which falls in with talent or even
I
director.
think you're right about talent. Like it goes directly to talent because it's the vision, it's the creativity that goes behind it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I think that the CGI is bad when you get the lack of creativity behind it, when people are using it as a shortcut to get to certain fields and visual effects. Whereas when you're doing innovative things with CGI, like I always go back to Attack on Titans, but like when you have like them using the I forget the ODM gear, and it's like that's an innovative way of using CGI. So you're 100% right. I think it really goes down to talent because you can have a lower budget, but if the guy is being innovative with how he's using the CGI, the
Yeah,
sky is the
it's
limit.
talent, budget, and time period. Because you can be good all you want, but if you have to push out CGI, uh, a 30-minute, well, 20-minute CGI episode every 3-4 weeks, it's not going to look as good as what most people would want it to be. But
No.
with that said, uh, do you have any closing thoughts about CGI? What's the good? What's the wrong? Who did it? Who did it the best? Who did it the worst? Or anything that you want to close out with?
So I think that when I made the video, I was just kind of like going on a tangent. And when I reviewed all the things that CGI has done, I realized how important it is for the future of anime. But I still do think that some people are abusing it and using it in the wrong way. So I would say like great examples are like Doho Hetero, Attack on Titan, and the implementations in Demon Slayer. But like things like I didn't really enjoy Knights of Sidonia, and I heard a lot of people felt that that was a good example of CGI in anime. And Ajin, not a fan, you know. And like we just discussed, like I wasn't a fan of Failure Frame CGI, but I love the story. So it just that's a perfect example of like not letting me immerse, even though I love the story. It kind of threw me off that the enemies were just like not part of the world almost. What's your
Yeah.
stance?
No, I feel exactly the same, but I've always kind of embraced the CGI of it because I know it's newer technology within doing TV series, so I understand that it's going to take a little while for us to get to a point where it can match up to certain things. Only because technology, finances, and stuff like that. I do think as of right now, majority of the time they do not succeed with it. Majority of the time. But I've noticed that they start getting better, especially these like studios like Mappa and Ufotable and Toei and the outside help that they get in between time, they pull it off really good. So those are the people that if you want to use CGI, I think those are the people that you should look towards for a good example of it. Uh, but also didn't who did the Berserk film? Wasn't that Mappa? No, that wasn't Mappa that did that, was it?
No, I actually had looked that up. I could tell you that. One second. It was Berserk. Give it to me. I just looked you up. Gemba is who did that.
Okay,
I don't know of them very well.
yeah, neither,
That just
but
shows you.
yeah, but I feel like overall we should embrace the CGI when it's good. I don't. I've seen people complain about the CGI when it's excellent, and it's like when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad.
Well, it's
Uh,
not going away. So
yeah,
I think you're right. It's not going away. It's only going to make things easier for animators, and like I think that as AI, as the computing power gets better, it's only going to be easier for them to hide it, and I'm fine with that. Like, make it easier for these animators, so that we can get more quality anime. Let's go back to like 100 episode seasons. I want more One Pieces. Like, let's go back to that. But we won't get that with the way that the market is right now. So I'm with you. I'm embracing it with you. Before I was against it, but you've changed my mind, and I'm embracing the inclusion of CGI in anime.
yeah. I the one thing I didn't agree with that statement was you want long running series back. I'm good on them. I want to be able to see a series end. I'll tell you that much. I love One Piece. I read it every drop, but I'm 30. I'm about to be 34. I don't need to start another series that ends when I'm 60 years old, right? I don't need that. I want to see my stories end, or at least come near the end with 4 or 5 seasons, right? But we'll leave it off on that one. Some of these discussions are meant for another day, like your blasphemy towards the god Goku. Uh, so we'll have to talk about that. A worshiper, a fellow.
No, hey, that's a fire tattoo, and I love Dragon Ball. I am a big Dragon Ball fan. I'm just not a big fan of Dragon Ball Z. That's all. I know it
Uh,
sounds crazy.
we'll talk about it one day soon, man. We'll talk about it one day soon.
For
But
sure, for sure.
before we get out of here, is there anything that you're doing, and where can they find you?
So right now, man, like I literally am just trying to do content every day. I'm trying to learn and teach at the same time. So like I'm learning from people like you and uh the community every day, and I'm trying to also teach people what I've learned over my 36 years of life. So I got you beat on age, my friend. But you can find me at Silva no Yume on TikTok, Silva Circle on Instagram, and just look up Silva Menace on YouTube. And I'm just Silva everywhere. But I'm just a lover of anime, Final Fantasy, gaming, and I look forward to more conversations with you, brother.
Oh yeah, same here. And of course, right as we end off, it freezes up and closes down the. There we go. So uh, I think it ties into our conversation with CGI and technology right there. You can't always rely on it. So
Hey,
with
y'all want to
that,
change my mind, bro?
and now I'm changing my own mind. So we'll end it right there, and I hope to catch y'all next time on the next Anime Association. Peace
Thanks
out.
again, man. Peace out.